everyone, and welcome. We are going over the Lewis and Clark Webquest. So you've had the last days here to be working on it. At this time, it should have been submitted to Google Classroom. If you haven't yet done that, please take a quick minute, pause the video, and go back to it. And as you're looking at this, if you need to pull up the screen or pull up your one tab with the answers and then pull this video up on a separate one, if you want to toggle back and forth, whichever you'd like to do to look over this and check over your answers, especially if you had a question or you weren't able to get to one of them. So, going over the information, number one, letter A, name two of the educational areas that Meriwether Lewis brushed up on before he left for his expedition. He looked into astronomy, botany, navigation, medicine, and biology. He was going to need to be a jack of all trades, so to speak, when he was out on this journey in this expedition. He wasn't going to just have his cell phone or his smartphone to just Google the answers. I can't tell you how many times Miss Zahner and I might go on a vacation and we just pull out our phones if we need to know something. They didn't have that back then. Letter B, how much money did Congress budget for Lewis's expedition? About $2,500, though he ended up spending way more than that. Letter C, name one of the mathematical tools they brought along and explain why they would want that. So there was a bunch of them. I've kind of got each one. So a surveyor's compass, a hand compass, quadrants, telescope, thermometer, two sextants, a set of plotting instruments, a chronometer. You should also have why that was important with yours. This is kind of all of them. I always have a few people, they're like, paper and pencil is what they brought. Are you serious? Paper and pencil? We're looking for a mathematical tool. Yes, you use paper and pencil when you're in your math class, but we're looking for something a little bit better than that. Letter D, why do you think Lewis brought along gifts for the Native Americans? Likely he brought them for peace offerings and trading for supplies, which is true. Number 2, Lewis and Clark prepare for the journey. What were 3 goals of the expedition? 1, to map the territory. 2, to record and collect specimens of plants and animals. 3, to make friends with the natives. And add this one if you don't yet have it, or if you don't have one of these other. So make it so you do have 4 total here, but waterway to the Pacific. That one is one of the biggest reasons that there was the expedition. It's something in our textbook that we talk a lot about, but make sure you have it here so you've got a good resource to look back on. Letter B, what became the official name of the expedition? The Corpse of Discovery. Letter C, Lewis and Clark packed many items. Which one did they consider the most important? Okay, so now's a good time if you put writing paper, ink, and pens because they were important things they packed. It's just not a mathematical tool, people. What is the name of Charbonneau's wife, Sacagawea? She was named or married to Toussaint, who was seaman. It was Lewis's pet, a Newfoundland dog. As I'm flipping the page, as you typed on this, it might have formatted itself slightly different. So go more by the numbers and the letters than by the actual page numbers at this point. Number 3, from the plains to the Pacific. Approximately how many miles was the Lewis and Clark expedition? It was over 3,700 miles. Name of current states that Lewis and Clark passed through on their expedition, so a lot. Well, back then it was just the entire territory there. Nowadays we have states that are outlined in that area. So Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. What was the name of the slave that's being represented in the statue when we get to number 4 here? York. Letter B, what skills did the slave have that could have meant the difference between life and death? He was an able hunter and also a woodsman. Letter C, what made him superior rather than an inferior while on the journey with Lewis and Clark? He shared the hardships and also the dangers of the journey. So he was one of them. How did he die? Cholera. And what is the name of the statue's sculptor? Ed Hamilton. Number 5, Sacagawea. So letter A, reading the article about Sacagawea, lists 3 reasons she was important to the expedition. So I've got 4 down here, but she got them horses. That was important so that they could get through the mountains. They wouldn't have been able to otherwise. She was their interpreter so that they could communicate. 3, she saved the papers when the boat overturned. The records would have otherwise been lost. And number 4, she knew the way because that's where she grew up. Number 6, which animal did Lewis and Clark say was the largest carnivorous that they had ever seen? Took them 10 shots to kill. That was a grizzly bear. Letter B, from number 6, which animal did they call barking squirrels? What did they do with the first one they caught? They were prairie dogs, and they decided to send it back to Thomas Jefferson. Letter C, which bird did Lewis and Clark see and describe that is extremely endangered today? The whipping crane. A little plug for if you've ever been to or heard of the International Crane Foundation. That's a really cool place that's over in Baraboo, and they have one of every single crane in the world there. So if you ever get a chance or you have some time, maybe with your family, not obviously right now with all of the coronavirus going on, but maybe this summer or some other time, they actually just renovated it. It'll be opening in June. Letter D, which animal was named after one of the men leading the expedition? Lewis's woodpecker. Letter E, if you were on the Lewis and Clark expedition and you had never seen any of these animals before, which animal would you be most excited of or in awe of seeing? So that's going to vary depending on your response there. It's got to be a nice response there, though. Can't just put something random. Number 7, Lewis as a botanist. Read through the different plants that were found, name 2 of them, and explain the story that went along with each plant. So those are both going to vary as long as you've got a nice answer that's there. It's like well thought out, makes sense, is one of the actual plants. Number 8, Lewis's journal. Using this entry, describe and name the popular game that the Shoshone Indians played. Hide the bean was one, and the stick game was another. That one they would like pass around behind their back, the stick. List 2 English mistakes that Lewis made in his journal entry. So these are like writing mistakes, so as in like grammar mistakes. So the misspellings of these words: operations, adapted, neighborhood, competitors. Not too bad. He's going to have a few. He doesn't even have spell check at this time, ladies and gentlemen. This is on the back of mine, but I'm on number 9, letter A. So these things, listen to the following journal entries. Name 2 things you learned that you didn't know before. Well, I can't be in your brain to know what you knew before or didn't know before. So I'm looking that you've got 2 nice sentences per area that make sense. They're legitimate information, not just they gave gifts to the Indians. Great. What were the gifts? Why was that important? Okay, same thing with the one about the amputation and the monster on the beach. So skipping down to number 10 then, Lewis and Clark into the unknown. So what was the goal Thomas Jefferson hoped you would find? The Northwest Passage. That was finding that waterway to the Pacific is what the Northwest Passage means. Based on this goal, what would it open up? It would mean that there's easy trade with the Orient or going from the Atlantic to Pacific Ocean. What is the roaring smoke above the water? It was a waterfall. Why was the work of the portage so difficult? Not the portage as in where we live. Portage is another term for like a waterway or being able to get across. So 3 things. The ground was rock hard. There were prickly pears. It was hot weather. There were violent storms. There was also flash floods. So you need at least 3 of those. After crossing the Clearwater River, who do you meet as Perce? Local tribes said you were crazy to paddle down what river in your canoes? The Columbia River. And letter G, what did Lewis and Clark and the corpse do, and what did it say? They carved into the tree by land from the United States, meaning they arrived there by land from the United States. So go over that, tweak any answers if needed. Let your teacher know if you have any questions. Otherwise, keep doing great things, guys. Have a great day. Bye.